Hello everyone, Razorblade Mango here, and today I just wanted to go over the latest announcement from PlayStation that they are giving one of the incubation teams that they've had under their umbrella for a couple years now a name, and I guess officially announcing to the world, if you haven't been paying attention to Bungie over the last few years, what this project is going to entail. I decided to wait to talk about this even though this was announced last week because I wanted to create some distance between this announcement and kind of giving it a couple days to think about it, or what turned out to be almost a week in my case, where I really wanted to think about it, and I wanted to approach it maybe a little bit more charitably than I would have if I had recorded this video last week when the announcement had just dropped. Because I rather than be a snarky asshole, I do want to give this team as much of a fair chance as possible. I'd like to be as charitable as I can about this announcement. And I don't usually make a video when PlayStation announces a new team that they are working with, or a new team they've acquired, or the names of some teams that they've already had, like when Team Asobi was officially spun off from Japan Studio after Japan Studio got shut down and reorganized. I obviously didn't make a video when they announced they were working with Haven. I didn't make a video when they announced when they got acquired, or when they talked about working with Firewalk for the first time or acquiring them. I very rarely make those videos because I just don't really have a lot to go on, or at least in past experience. But I feel like this is a different case because of the things that have happened with the live service initiative. And while their press statement about what teamLFG is, which is the team that they're officially, that's the name that they've christened this team with, which is, I want to talk about their press statement because I do find some things in it to be interesting, especially with the hindsight of how the live service initiative has gone for PlayStation over the last few years. So I'm going to be reading from the PlayStation blog from a post titled "Welcome Team LFG to the PlayStation Studios family." And what's pretty funny about this is that I find it darkly humorous that this announcement was put out on my birthday last week. And I love that Rockstar went, Razorblade Mango, we got you. We're going to drop the GTA 6 second trailer during your birthday week. And I'm like, cool. And then PlayStation comes around and goes, hey, Razorblade Mango, boy, do we have a birthday surprise for you. Here's a new live service team. It's like, oh, thanks. I appreciate it. So this blog post was written by Herman Hulst, the boring Dutchman himself, was the nickname I've coined for him. It's not the most clever thing, but something. So this article begins with Team LFG rallies developers from across the industry to bring to life an ambitious incubation project. And I can't really do a Herman Hulst voice very well just because I can't do a Dutch accent to save my life, but this is what it says. Today, I am thrilled to officially unveil a new studio in the PlayStation Studios family. Team LFG originated at Bungie, but has also rallied developers from across the industry to bring to life an ambitious incubation project that I'm very excited about. Now, when I hear that Herman Hulst is very excited about a project, I am instantly skeptical because, as I've said previously, I do not think this man has the creative instinct when it comes to, or just good instincts in general when it comes to PlayStation, outside of the core franchises that are the most obvious things in the world to greenlight. Like, yeah, sure, greenlight God of War, greenlight Horizon, greenlight The Last of Us, sure. But when it comes to these new original projects, I'm definitely iffy about that, because this is the same man who ran around PlayStation squeezing his nipples while hailing Concord as the most amazing thing since the coming of Jesus Christ, since the resurrection of Jesus, squeezing his nipples, going on about how Concord is the future of PlayStation and a Star Wars-like IP with this absolutely gonzo delusion that he had about this project, where it was allegedly his baby. The fucking Concord was his baby project. So I'm very skeptical about anything that Hermen Hulst says is exciting. I mean, shit, this guy could say that the next Team Asobi project is exciting, and I would still have that wince of like, ooh, like, yeah, please don't. Like, I know the next project from Team Asobi is going to be exciting, but just hearing it coming out of your mouth, like, no. So he continues with, the studio is now fully formed and ready to be introduced to the world. I'll let teamLFG introduce themselves properly and give a tiny glimpse of what they've been working on. Now, I don't know what he's talking about by tiny glimpse other than them describing what the game's influences are, because this announcement came with no screenshots, no CG trailer, no nothing. But I do have a slight suspicion that they are going to show this during the next State of Play at the end of the month, or God forbid if they were to bring a showcase back this year, which I highly doubt they're going to. Maybe in the form of a CG trailer or something. I really hope they would learn from Concord and Fair Games not to announce their live services with a CG trailer, but this is PlayStation we're talking about. They don't exactly learn the right lessons from some of their failures sometimes. Now we're going to switch over to what teamLFG said, and they start with, hello world, it's a delight to meet you, and we're very grateful to be joining PlayStation Studios. Our studio is headquartered in Bellevue, Washington, with team members working both on-site and remotely throughout the US and Canada. We are a team composed not just of industry veterans who have shipped titles like Destiny, Halo, League of Legends, Fortnite, Roblox, and Rec Room, but also industry newcomers with fresh creative perspectives and skills. We are passionate about exceptional action-based gameplay, moment-to-moment game feel, and richly social virtual worlds. So I'm gonna stop right there with two things. Bellevue, Washington is a very expensive place to have a team. That's where Concord's team, Firewalk, was previously held. And we all know how expensive it is to run a studio in Bellevue, Washington. I mean, shit, Washington in general is a very expensive state to run a studio in. So it's interesting that they are having both on-site and remote developers for the studio. And I wonder if they are giving the people who were taken over from Bungie, I wonder if they're allowing them to work in the Bungie office on this game, or if they are giving them their own site to work on. So we don't really have any specifics about that, but I think it's smart that they are doing remote employees as well. I think that's a smart idea. I also don't really care about this laundry list of games that some members of the team have worked on and shipped, like Destiny and Halo and League of Legends, because if you go back to Concord's announcement, they did the exact same thing where they went, hey guys, look at us, we've shipped games like Destiny and Mass Effect and Apex Legends, and that doesn't really mean anything because we all know how Concord turned out. And nowadays you have games where the lead writer is found on Reddit and the composer who drops a banger of a soundtrack like Expedition 33's posting on SoundCloud and visiting obscure video game forums to spread the word on his work. So this idea of attaching other games to kind of hype up the industry talent that they have working on this studio doesn't really mean a whole lot to me anymore. So they continue with, the LFG in Team LFG stands for looking for group. It also stands for let's fucking go, but okay. We are driven by a mission to create games where players can find friendship, community, and belonging. Ugh. We want our players to feel excited when they log on to discover their teammates already hanging out online. We want our players to recognize familiar names and to make myths and memes out of each other. We want our players to love remembering that one time where they pulled off that play, that change the whole story of the match. As we say on the team, that's the good stuff. And I like, my body like contorted into like a little like, whenever I read that. Cause okay, I'm not gonna be too harsh on this team for trying to have the whole like, how do you do, fellow kids energy, but I really don't like this team name. I think it's just cringy. There's really no other word for it. I really don't like them saying that's, as we say on the team, that's the good stuff, where they spell it with that's with a D and the with DA. It just, again, guys, you don't need to try so hard to sound cool and modern when you say things like this. It just comes across as just embarrassing. There's really no other word I can use. I mean, besides cringy to describe it, but I also don't like that they're describing that we create games where players can find friendship and community and belonging. And I don't know, that just to me sounds like they are trying to like gussy up the game that they're making by trying to make it seem more welcoming and friendly with people, even though most online games out there have a pretty, you know, ravenous, toxic subset of their community. It happens with almost every game. It happens with even the most bubbly, friendly looking game imaginable. You're always going to have those shitty people that latch onto the game and make it a worse experience for others. I just don't really care about them talking about friendship and community and belonging. We want you to feel excited when we see your teammates are already hanging out online. It's like, no, they're just making myths and memes out of each other. It's like, people will do that anyway. You don't need to say it in your opening mission statement. Again, it just comes across as that hello fellow kids, how do you do, fellow kids energy kind of thing. And I'm like, I'm in my fucking 30s and I look at this and I'm like, guys, guys, come on, you don't have to really try this hard. They continue with, we will make immersive multiplayer worlds propelled by action games that players can learn, play, and master for countless hours. We want to build our games with our communities, inviting players to be part of our development process through early access playtests. It's critical that we stay nimble enough to react to player feedback, not just in our lead up to launch, but throughout live service as we continue to grow the game and community for years to come. So, despite the fact that they name drop live service, that I think that's kind of a bad idea to say that. And I never like this mentality of, yes, we will grow the game with the community for years to come, because that's similar to the wording that Bungie is doing with Marathon. And like I said in one of the last videos, I do not like to hear that whatsoever. I will say that they are being smart with how upfront they are, that they want to have the players be on board with the development process through early access playtests. Because one of the big killer blows to Concord is that PlayStation thought it was a good idea to announce it a mere less than 3 months before the game was going to come out for everybody. And they didn't have enough time to really react and try to change the bones and change the art direction of what the team was going for. It was just kind of this very hubris-based kind of thing that PlayStation likes to do with their single-player games, and they tried applying it to live service, which even then, when they announced Helldivers 2, they had like a 9-month gap between when that game was announced and when the game came out. Concord did not have that luxury, because when they announced it at the State of Play, they said, here you go, it's coming out at the end of August, and that shit was announced on May 30th or May 31st, I believe, one of the two. And again, they did not have the time to react to the torrent of negative feedback that they got about the look of the game, about how generic the game seemed. This, at least, they have the opportunity to show the player. Again, this is why I think it was a bad idea to not show anything in this announcement, to get the feedback like immediately from the player. And I wonder if they're talking about open access to the community, or if they're going to invite select people to try out the game, or if they're going to have multiple closed alpha tests, or the most logical conclusion, they're going to release the game in early access, kind of like a free-to-play model or a heavily discounted model for people to try. so that the team can see the feedback and react accordingly. I mean, this is all well and good that they're saying this about how they want to stay nimble enough to react to player feedback, but execution is where it's going to be the most important. And I'm very curious to see how nimble, as they put it, they can actually be when it comes to player feedback. Because I hope this doesn't have that problem that Firewalk obviously had of toxic positivity, where they saw the negative feedback, but then they just, even internally from some sources where they just close their ears to any kind of negative feedback, or there was this culture of fear of criticizing the game because of this being seen amongst PlayStation's higher-ups as the future of PlayStation and Herman Hulse's baby, allegedly. So hopefully they don't have that culture embedded in the studio where they're just allergic to internal negative feedback. Like, if somebody on the team thinks the game sucks and thinks that the art design needs to be changed, then I hope they are given the freedom and the comfort to say this to the higher ups on the team without any fear of repercussion or hurt feelings or anything like that. Because if you're going to work on a live service, especially when you're in your opening mission statement like this, where you say you want to be nimble to player feedback, you got to be ready for the brutality, because players are going to be brutal. If you're not plugging your ears up and just listening to the people that love Bungie and just want to kiss your ass in order to get future invites to play tests and whatnot, I'm talking about the people, that the normal people that go on Reddit that don't give a flying fuck about being, sensitive to the developers' feelings and whatnot. You need to listen to those people. You need to take those kind of people's feedback in accord, because maybe hearing something from them might save you a big headache in the long run. Again, that's a lesson that Concord and Firewalk did not learn, and it cost them not only their game, but the studio itself. And then their final bit, our first game is a team-based action game that draws inspiration from fighting games, platformers, MOBAs, life sims, and frog-type games. Players will inhabit a light-hearted comedic world set in a brand new mythic science fantasy universe. We can't wait to reveal more. Till then, we'll do our best. Thanks for reading. And it signs off, not with anyone specifically from teamLFG, but just from teamLFG in general, and it links to information, to job listings and whatnot that are still available at teamLFG. Now, this last portion, where they go over the inspirations from other genres that this project has. I will give them this, that as much as I've talked shit about PlayStation's other live services being very generic and just looks like they're kind of following the leader in a lot of ways, this, at least, I'll give them credit that this at least sounds different compared to other live services out there where they're throwing in things like fighting games and platformers and MOBAs and life sims and even the frog type games. I really have no idea what that means, and I even asked ChatGPT what that means, and ChatGPT was just like, oh, maybe it's referring to Frogger, where you have to navigate these hazards and try to avoid them across a vertical or horizontal path or something, I guess. I don't know why they said that here, because this was one of the things they said when they talked about this Project Gummy Bears a few years ago from Bungie, back when this team was still at Bungie. And I didn't like it then. I still don't like it now that they're talking about it like this. And saying that your world is lighthearted and comedic, that does not give me any hope or interest in your game at all. Like, I just don't like hearing that whatsoever. That just sounds terrible. Just the fact that it's like, we're gonna make a lighthearted and comedic world, because when I think of a game coming from PlayStation that's lighthearted and comedic, most of the time it does not come across as very enjoyable for me personally. Outside of Astrobot, I just think of childish writing, I think of annoying comedy, I think of just dumb quips from these bright bubblegum colored characters. It just makes me feel like Danny Glover from Lethal Weapon, where I'm just like, I'm too old for this shit. So Yeah, that doesn't really make me all that happy to hear that, but I am curious when they're going to reveal more, and I'm curious how far along this project actually is to where they would be comfortable showing something in early access, because they're going to have to show this publicly at some point to get people invested in wanting to try the early access playtests. Again, if they just don't want to cherry pick the creators that think that will give them positive feedback, but they're publicly announcing this, where they say they want their players to be part of our development process through early access. So when are they going to talk about this game? When are they going to show what this is? When are they going to reveal the title? When are they going to reveal gameplay, even if it's alpha based? Because they're going to have to say something within the next year if they really want to get this out. Because who knows? Who the hell knows if this is even going to come out in the PS5's life cycle? For all we know, this could be a project that releases when the PS6 rolls around, and it's just cross-gen between PS6. They make it PS6, PS5, PC, maybe Switch, maybe even Xbox. Now, I will say, I am less bothered by this, because this is a team that PlayStation practically saved this team's jobs, where they were going to get shut down by Bungie because Bungie's managerial staff was totally incompetent, and they were in the process of multiple layoffs in the time that PlayStation bought them. This is probably going to be one of the teams that was cut, so PlayStation saved their jobs, practically. And they said, look, we own you anyway. I guess we see potential in this project. Now, I have heard back when this team was working at Bungie that this was the internal project that people were the most excited about. Whether that really means anything coming from Bungie, I leave that entirely up to you. I personally don't really put a lot of stock in Bungie's quality assessment, honestly. I definitely don't put a lot of stock in PlayStation's quality assessment when it comes to live services based on their history and current history especially. But who knows? Maybe they have something with this. Maybe. Like I said, this big smorgasbord of influences, when combined together, at very least sounds unique. It doesn't sound like, here is our heist shooter, this Eat the Rich simulator that looks and sounds disgusting. Here's Concord that just looks generic as shit. This at least is something that sounds different. Whether they have something, I don't know. And I'm still very skeptical about this project until I play it myself, or I see what it looks like, and I see the reception, I see what the numbers are for things like that. But again, I don't think Bungie is this magic bullet that PlayStation now has in their arsenal. I just don't believe it. I'm sorry. I know there are Bungie fans out there that think Bungie, whatever they touch, will turn water into wine, to make another Jesus analogy, but Bungie are just not this. I just don't think they have the secret sauce anymore, especially after seeing what Marathon looks like. Anyway, that's all I gotta say for today. I'm curious what you all think of teamLFG. I still really hate that name. That name sucks. I wish they would name themselves something else, but I'm being serious when I am very curious to see what this team is going to do with this game, and what this game is going to look like, and how the community is going to react to it and whatnot. Who knows? It might be sooner than we think, considering that PlayStation will more than likely do a state of play either at the end of this month or at the beginning of June, possibly. So we'll see. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later. Bye.